Hi, class 7. How are you? Very good morning. I hope you all are doing fine and you are staying home and staying safe. It's good to see you back. So, today is Tuesday and this is a new class. I have a surprise for you. The surprise is this: I have the book, and the new book has come into me also. So, we are going to start. I'm going to just read from the first chapter because I have already given you notes and we have done with some notes. I'll prepare some more notes for you so that it'll be much more easier. Like we have the medieval world, the regional kingdoms which have started, but I haven't gone to the Sultanate period. So it will be very good that we are on the same page and it'll be easier for us. So in the first part we have the medieval world, and that is the first chapter. So we'll be on page 5 and I'll start reading and let's see how far we can go. Okay, so it's like that. We are going to start here. The study of the past is divided into periods. Okay, the period that lies between the ancient and the modern periods of history is known as the middle or medieval period. Medieval period. The time which is in between of the prehistory of the actually what you call the two history periods which we have, the ancient period and the modern period. So we are not going into prehistory or we are not going into post history as well. So we're just going to read about the middle portion of it. So that's called the middle or the medieval period. In India, the medieval period stretched from the beginning of the 8th to the end of the 18th century. So 8th to 18th century, that is for nearly 1100 years. So 1100 years of history together, learning is very tough, which is seriously very tough. But guys, I just want to tell you that I have been getting some information from the management as well and from few people of my sources. So don't think that I don't have any sources. I have a lot of sources. My network is very good. I hear that some of class 7 students are not studying. See, it's your wish, your life, what you're going to do with it. Just don't waste your parents' time, labor and money. 3 things. They have got a lot of expectations on you, so please try to follow it. If I can work sitting here without any reason, I have got nothing to take from you. I have got to give, and that is whatever I know, whatever I have inside my brain, I share with you regarding social science. Okay, you need any other help, you please jot down a message to me. The videos are on YouTube. You can send me you can subscribe to Hertford channel and send me messages there also. I'm going to reply back for sure. Don't have to worry about that. You can come on the WhatsApp group as well of the school and you can jot me messages there. If you don't study, it's your fault. If you're thinking it's holiday time, you're going to enjoy, I don't know what to say. I can only say that, boss, life is not so easy. So just put down some time to studies as well, and so that you can take care of it. But those guys who are good, I don't have to tell you, and you're going to do well, I know that. So this specially goes for class 7 again. So we are going to study about 1100 years in a basic term, and I have already explained this to you in my earlier notes as well, but it will be good to be on the same page. See, during my videos, I want to tell you that you have to be on the same page with me. Listen, put your earphones in and take your mobile phone, or if you have a laptop at home, or if you have a desktop, go on to YouTube, put your earphones in, or if you have speakers, put it on, but don't disturb others. My voice is not so good. So you can put in your headphones and listen to it, and at the same time go with the page, and there is going to be homeworks. Obviously at the back of the book, the homeworks you have to do. Notes I'll give you. Solutions also I will give you the answers, but only after you finish. I will not give it beforehand to you. You have to work something for yourself as well. Okay, so let's start. The 18th century is generally taken as the beginning because society, economy, polity, religion and cultural underwent many changes during this century. What all was it? The 18th century generally is taken as the beginning because it's the 18th century is taken as the beginning, from 8th to 18th, the 1100 years. So 18th century is taken as the beginning part because Social changes happened, economic changes happened, politically, religion and culture underwent many changes, which I have explained to you earlier, how people were changing. We are also still changing. Okay. Similarly, the 18th century witnessed still more changes, marking the end of the medieval and the beginning of the modern period. So this 18th century is very important, the finishing of one period and a beginning of another period. So that's very important. So those few years are going to be very important for us. The medieval period is divided into early medieval and late medieval period. The early medieval period stretched from the 8th to the 13th century. The Palas, Pratiharas, Rashtrakutas, Cholas and the Rajputs were the powerful ruling dynasties during this or that period. Okay. I have told you already about the Palas and Rajputs. I have given you a little bit information, but Pratiharas, Rashtrakutas and Cholas are still left, but in the links you have got some information about them. I hope you have written them down. So I'll be giving it to you also in my videos. The late medieval period lasted from the 13th to the 18th century. It covered the rule of the Turks, the Afghans and the Mughals. I miss my tiger. He used to do the reading for me in class. He was very good at it and he speaks also very well. You rest of you also speak well, but he's a bit better. Anyways, the many names of India. Our country is commonly referred to as Bharat, India or Hindustan. It is however interesting to note that India was known by different names at different points in history. Bharatvarsha, Jambudipa are two of the earliest names by which our country was known in ancient times. Okay, so this is how we were known and everything was happening with India. So what were the names? One was Bharatvarsha and one was Jambudip. Jambudipwa or Jambudip, we can say that. Actually it was Jambudip, a huge island, because we have three sides water and one part is land, 1/3 is land. So I had told you earlier also in my notes about the many names of India as Bharat, India or Hindustan. So some of you were confused that he doesn't have the book. Which book is he teaching from? The history is going to be same, but some parts is printed differently. The answers are coming somewhere different and some names are not added up, but the dates are going to be the same. Now, India was also known as the land of people who lived along the river Sindhu. The Sanskrit word for Sindhu was pronounced Hindu in Old Persian, and Hindu in French became Indi, pronounced as Ande. Okay, this word came to English as India. In French pronounced it Ande, and the actually in French the goes a bit low and you have to say it like that, but the spelling will be INDE. So we'll think Indi. It's not Indi, it's Ande. It's pronounced like that. The way we understand Hindustan today is quite different from what it was understood in medieval times. For example, according to some medieval scholars, Hindustan comprised territories that were a part of Delhi Sultanate. On the other hand, Babur, the founder of the Mughal Empire, used the term Hindustan to describe the geography and natural vegetation of the subcontinent, that is India. It was only in the 19th century, during the British Raj, that Hindustan came to be used synonymously with India. So Hindustan came to be known more synonymously with India. It had a synonym as India, Hindustan. Because Britishers, when they came in, they started calling it Hindustan. The English said India, and Babur named it Hindustan because Babur was already a Hindi speaking person, a Urdu speaking person, Arab, Mughal Sultanate, and he knew how to pronounce it better. Okay. Major historical developments. What were the developments during this time? The medieval period in India is characterized by some important developments. What they are, let's read about it. The coming of the Muslims led to we'll go to the next chapter. The coming of the Muslims, sorry, we'll go to the next page, that is page 6. The coming of the Muslims led to the growth of a mixed culture. Didn't I tell you a fusion of cultures? There was a growth of cultures. I told you the people who had come down from the north side, who had come in from Afghanistan, who had come in from the other countries. We were having a fusion of art, culture and architecture also. So growth of a mixed culture. There was interaction between North and South India and between the Hindus and the Muslims. The cultural exchanges led to the growth of differences that was above regional and caste differences. It was an Indian culture. Everyone was called Hindustanis. We didn't have so much of fights and all and everything going on. This Hindu-Muslim riots was not going on at that time. Okay, everyone was happy and simple and was peaceful and was doing all their work. These things happened recently. So these are the changes. So we don't like it. I especially don't like it. The Muslim dynasties, particularly the Mughals, provided many centuries of political stability to the country. This led to an increase in trade and rapid growth of towns and cities. Trade led to a greater interaction between people from different parts of the world. India borrowed many things from the cultures of other countries. During the medieval period, Islam spread in India. The Bhakti and Sufi movements spread the message of devotion to God and kindness towards all human beings. You will read more about these two movements in lesson 9. But I just want to tell you one thing is, we must live in peace and harmony. We should love each and every person. There is nothing bigger than loving your neighbor. If you love your neighbor as your brother, there is no other thing you need. You will be friendly with everyone. Help, give and be. We don't have to go into religion, caste and all that. We have to just be happy. Everybody are human beings. So this is what happened earlier. The Mughals actually tried to do that. And there was a lot of increase in trade, culture, cities, business expanded, and the Mughals really did a good contribution to India. And Sufism and Bhakti movement, Sufism is Muslim and Bhakti movement is Hindu. So there was a fusion of both the cultures and religions that provided a lot of peace and harmony to the country, and people didn't have any problems. Sources about the ancient period. How did we get about this information? Like the ancient period, information on the medieval period is derived from archaeological and literary sources. I have told you earlier also, archaeological sources, that is from excavation and from palaces, mosques, forts, and from weapons, ornaments. Those are the archaeological sources. And literary sources are like the written records, the poems, the art, the architecture, the biographies, the autobiographies, the farmhands, the correspondence letters, and these were all included into this, which I have explained to you earlier. So, like the ancient period, information on the medieval period is derived from the archaeological and literary sources. There is an abundant source for this period. Lot of sources are there during this period, and we get a lot of information as well. So as we go on, it's going to become more interesting. We'll come to know more about it. It will be, I like reading history, I enjoy it. So there is an abundance of sources for this period. The books written during this period are available to us, and the monuments that were constructed still stand. Means they are still there. That is why we know much more about the medieval period than the ancient period. Because the ancient period, some monuments have broken down, it's mixed up with the earth, it's demolished, or we are not getting any information, digging is still going on. But the medieval period, those things are still standing, we can see them, so that provides a lot of information. So it gives us a lot of data. Okay, now what are the archaeological sources? We'll hit the archaeological sources first, and after that literary sources, then we'll have the chronicles, the autobiographies and biographies, and travelogues. Travelogues are the people who traveled in and out of the country during that time. Okay, so we'll start with archaeological sources. What I'll do is I'll come back in the next video, so that I'll start the archaeological sources in the next video, which will be easy for you. So I just want to tell you again that I'm reading through, explaining it in little bits, because I've already explained it earlier. But don't worry, as I'm on the same page with you today, we are on page 6, and wherever I'm going to stop, I'm going to tick mark it there. You also tick mark. We'll come back there to that part with other explanations in another way of explanation, so that it becomes easy for you and you study. So guys, please, I want you all to study. Don't get out of touch from your studies. It will be very it will affect you. That's what all I know. It's a request and I tell you to study. That's all. Be in touch with it, it's going to help you out. So when we are working from this side, and quite a lot of teachers are working, and we are also working long hours for you, to just help you out so that you don't face any problem. Okay, so see you in the next video.